And hi our listeners. Today again it's me, Aydınov Şehriyar, from the Department of Accounting and Auditing, and our next topic. So you can see the name of our today's topic, Audit of Settlements and Credit Operations, and we have 5 subheadings for our today's topics, or 5 chapters. Let's see their names. First one, Audit of Settlements with Suppliers and Contractors. The second one, Audit of Settlement with Buyers and Customers. Third one, Audit of Credit and Debt Settlements. Audit of Budget Settlements. And the last one, Audit of Salary Settlements. I can say that there may be much more subheadings for our today's topic, but I want to talk about this topic relatively briefly or shortly because this topic is a general topic for all sectors of our economic students. So there is no need to talk long about today's topic. But if you want to take more information about settlements and credit operations, you can check up our bibliography, our references, and another internet resources. Okay, let's continue. I want to show our references or our bibliography. You see that I have used only 3 sources for our bibliography, and all of them I can say in Azeri language, But why I didn't use any English sources for our today's topic? Because I tried to translate all sentences from our language to English, and the reason is I wanted our topic to be in accordance with our, how can I say, national auditing standards. So that's why I didn't use any foreign resources. But as I mentioned a minute ago, you can use all sources which you want from internet resources or from our books. Okay, let's start from our first, how can I say, subheading, Audit of Settlements with Suppliers and Contractors. Let's talk about suppliers and contractors. What does it mean? Who are the suppliers or who are the contractors? A supplier or a contractor is an enterprise or is a company that they sell some goods, materials, or they provide services for you, and you can use these materials, you can use these goods as raw materials or as staff materials in your construction works, for example, or in your production sector, and etc. So one of your, how can I say, friends in your business, you can call suppliers and contractors. Okay, let's start. The main purpose of the inspection or the checking process is to determine the accuracy of the records of settlements with suppliers and contractors for goods and materials received. You can say that we say that received, and the work performed and the services provided. Okay, that means you can buy any goods or materials from this company, or they can perform or they can provide any services for you. It doesn't differ, material or service. You can call all of them, you can get all of them from your supplier or contractor. Okay, the main legal document between the supplier and contractor and you or your company, your enterprise, is the contract concluded between them, between you and your supplier and contractor. I want to notice the importance of contract, and I think you already know about the importance of contract, but I want to remember it. You know that all amounts, all prices, all amounts of your work, or how can I say, all amount of materials or goods you buy from contractors are shown in or must be shown in contract. So contract is important because if there will be or there is any disagreement between you, your enterprise, and supplier and contractor, this contract will be the most important or the most legal document by the law or in front of court, in front of law, before the law. So the contract is important, and if there is not any contract, it means that your all works or all your buyings are illegal, and you cannot defend these amounts, your, how can I say, expenses, your payments in future in case of any disagreement. So of course it's an important thing. Okay, let's continue. During the checking process, the auditor or the auditors, there may be more than one, must perform the followings. Let's watch the list. Again, and in first case, first of all, they must check the existence of the concluded contract, as I talked about it, and the correctness of its conclusion. You already know that it's the most important thing. Let's continue. And to check the correct registration of creditor debts or payable arising from the purchase of goods and materials in the registers. Goods and materials or arising from purchasing services, again, it doesn't differ. What does it mean? I want to talk about the types or the kinds of debts. There are two types of debts. First, as you see, creditor debts, or you can call it payables. And the second one is, how can I say, debtor debts, or you can call it receivables. Payables, it means that you must pay to anyone or to any company or your contractors, to your suppliers for your goods, for purchasing goods or services from them. But receivables, it means that you can get or you will get any amount of money for selling any product, for providing any services, and etc. As you understand, these two payables and receivables are opposite. And we will talk about receivable also, but in our next subheading. So let's continue from the third factor to check the accounting information of the enterprise with the information in the accounts of suppliers. Again, it's one of the most important methods of checking process by the auditors. How can I explain it for you? It means that when an auditor checks your enterprise or checks your documents or registers, he can or she can compare it, your documents with the documents of your supplier. He can ask, he can write a letter to your supplier and contractor, he can require these documents from them, and with the help of method taking an inventory or an inventory method, he can compare your registers and the registers of your suppliers and contractors. Of course, your registers or your documentation must be in accordance with the documentation of your supplier and contractor. In this case, there is no problem, and auditor can, how can I say, can continue his checking process. At the end of this slide, you can see some names of accounts or numbers of accounts. For example, 206, 113 or 13, 431 or 531, and etc. Of course, these accounts are not all accounts about these transactions or this process, but these are the main ones which auditor must especially check or must especially inspect them, of course. And you can, how can I say, you can get the names of these accounts from our accounting chart. Not our accounting chart, from international accounting chart. That's why I didn't mention the names of these accounts. So I want to continue from our next subheading. But before this process, let's watch for final time out of settlements with suppliers and contractors. Again, I want to remember that a supplier or contractor is a company that sells anything to you or provides any service to you. But let's see the second subheading, the name of it, audit of settlements with buyers and customers. As I mentioned, this subheading is the opposite of first one. Why opposite of first one? Because you remember I compared the payables and receivables, or creditor debts or debtor debts. As I said, payables is about our first subheading, but receivables is about our second subheading. Let's start. The main purpose of the inspection is to determine the accuracy of accounting for settlements with buyers and customers for products sold, not received, but sold, for works performed, services provided. Services provided by you, your company, or products sold by you, your company, or works performed again by you or your company. So I'm sure that now you all understood the difference between the first subheading and our second subheading, the opposite ones. So during this checking process, the auditor must perform or must check the followings again, the main factors of this sector, to check again the existence of a contract for the sale and shipment of products. So you can see the difference. In first subheading, I said that to check the existence of a contract for products purchased, for services provided by suppliers and contractors. And now I say, a contract for the sale of shipment of products. It means that you can sell or you can transfer any of your products from your company to another company, to your buyers, to your customers, or anyone else. So let's continue. Contract again is the most important thing, because you again must write down all prices, all amount of products which you sell or which you transfer to your buyer or contractors. Why I say transfer? Because it's not the only process to sell your products. Of course, you can help with the shipment of products, with the transport of products also, and this is also a kind of revenue for you. I wanted to write down for the sale and for the shipment of products, both of them, as you get. Okay, let's continue from the second one. To check the correct registration of debtor debts, you see receivables arising from the products sold and services rendered. Okay, the new word for you, rendered. It's another type of process in this sector. So you can get any money from selling products or rendering services or providing services. So that's why we use this word here. Okay. And at the end of our this slide or this sector, you can see the main account number 211 is the main information source, or is the main is the main accounting for checking process, and auditor must start from this account number in checking process of settlements with buyer and customers. So again, let's say it finally, that the first and the second subheadings of our today's topics are opposite, and we can continue from the third one. You see the name, Audit of Credit and Debt Settlements. Okay, in this slide you see the first sentence about loans or borrowings. What does it mean, loan or borrowing? How can I explain it in a simple way? Let's say that you get some money from your friend, but you will return this money again after some period, for example, after a month, after a week. So you can call it loans or borrowings. But in this case, we talk it in, in a high level, not between you and your friend, between you and some banks or other credit enterprises, credit funds or something, etc. So let's start this slide. The main purpose of the audit is to determine the accuracy of the settlement of loans and borrowings in the company's report. In the company's report, you see that each company must prepare its own financial and accounting report once in a year. So it's important again for companies. And let's see that which factors or which sectors the auditor must check. Auditor must check the followings. Again, the first one, the existence of loan and borrowing agreements and contracts. You can call it agreement or contract. It's not a problem. There's not a significant difference between them. But generally or usually you call contract which is concluded between you, your enterprise, and suppliers and contractors, or between your enterprise and buyers and customers. But usually you call it agreement or loan and borrowing agreement in this sector of our today's lesson. So you know that when you take any amount of money from bank as loan, there must be all information about this amount of money written down in your agreement, loan and borrowings agreement. For example, the amount of money, the interest rate you can call it percent. Credit faizi in Azeri language. So it's again important. The agreement is again important, and the most important thing. So if there is an agreement, the other processes, of course, will be so easy for the auditor to check them. For example, use of bank loans in accordance with their purpose. What does it mean? For example, I'm how can I say, I have a company, I'm manager of this company, or I must get some loan or borrowings from any bank. It's my work, it's my job, and I take these bank loans, and I, how can I say, show that, or I notice that I will use it. I will use this amount of money, for example, in new construction works, or for example in production sector, but I take this money from bank A, for example, and then I use this money for, how can I say, for pay my other payables or creditor debts for to another bank, for example, bank B, and it's not correct. The auditor must, of course, check this process, that whether you use your bank loans in purpose or in accordance or not. So the second one is again one of important things, use of bank loans in accordance with their purpose. Let's continue. Accurate recording of interest, again % interest rate on loans and borrowings. Again, I want to say that it's an easy process, because if there is any agreement between two sides, your bank and your enterprise, so auditor just can check, for example, interest rate from the copy of a document that stays in you, and from the original version of document that stays in your bank. So again, the method of inventory, taking an inventory, so it's easy to check up if your interest or % rate is correctly written in your agreement or not. So it's not a hard process. And the last one, correct valuation of property acquired at the expense of borrowed funds. What does it mean? Again, it's an interesting thing. For example, you have, but you yourself have, for example, 5 manat. It's your own money. It's not a bank loan. You are going to any market or to any business sector, and you can buy, for example, anything, for a book for your 5 manats. So when you write the value of your book, you must write down 5 manats, just 5 manats, because your money and no bank loans, no any interest or interest rates or persons for it. But if you get this 5 manat from your bank loan or bank, and then you buy this book at the expense of borrowed funds, you mustn't write down the value of this book just 5 manat, just 5 manat, I'm sorry, but 5 manats and plus your interest rates. For example, you take 5 manats and you pay 6 manats to your bank after period, after your loan period. So you must write down the value of your book, not 5 manat but 6 manat. The real value of it, and plus the %, the interest rate of your borrowed funds. So I think that you understand the last one. So again, we can check up, or we can see the accounts number in this sector or in this settlement. I can call the names. I can say the names: 401, 404, 501, 504 are the main information sources again of this checking process. So let's continue from the fourth one. You can see the name again. Audit of budget settlements. How can I say? Not with only the budget and extra budgetary funds. Also in our republic. So you can call it the main purpose of the audit of settlements with the budget and extra budgetary funds is to determine the timely and accurate, exactly transfer of taxes, duties and other payments to the budget or extra budgetary funds. Generally, this type of settlements is a settlement between you and government, or how can I say, government institutions. Different institutions in different republics maybe. So, let's continue. The author should further check the followings. Correctness of application of the tax rate established by the legislation, you see, established by legislation in norms. So, what does it mean? You know that there are many types of taxes in world, in our country, of course, and the author must check up the correctness of rates, again, tax rates. For example, income tax or land taxes or another type of tax, and did you, how can I say, did you calculate correctly these rates or not? So auditor must check up this process first of all. And then we continue. Legality of concessions applied in the calculation of taxes. There are not many types of concessions in our country in tax sector, but I can give an example: offset taxes. In our country, I know this type of tax concessions. Maybe there are some much more. I don't have much information about it. So let's continue. Timely transfer of taxes and other payments to the budget. Timely transfer. It means that you mustn't be late to pay your taxes or other payments to budget or extra budgetary funds. So when you pay your taxes, you must again write down this amount in your primary accounting registers, accounting documents, and etc. And I want to note one thing, that generally in our country there are, how can I say, three types of payments that you must pay the budget of government. First of all, as you see, taxes. Second, you can say, how can I say, deductions from your salary to pension fund. All of you know about it, I think. And the third one, compulsory insurance amount to pay from your salary or from your wage to budget or extra budgetary funds. So taxes, deductions from your wage to pension fund, and deduction to your wage or salary from compulsory insurance. So we talked about the fourth subheading of our today's topic. Let's continue to the last one. But before this process, you can see the types, the kinds of taxes and the account numbers that auditors must check in this checking process. Accounts number 521, 522, 523 again are the main information sources in this checking process. And in account number 521, named tax liabilities, you can see many types of taxes in sub-accounts. For example, income tax settlements. I want to remember that in our country there are two types of income tax settlements or income taxes. One of them personal income tax, and the second one is corporate income tax. Also, the rates are different. The tax rates or tax persons are different. For example, 14%, I think I'm not wrong in this case, 14% for personal income tax, and I think 20% for corporate income tax. If I'm wrong, if I'm doing mistake, I'm sorry for it. So let's continue. Value-added tax settlements. How can I say? Əlavə dəyər vergisi naziri. Property tax settlements, land tax settlements, mining tax settlements, and transport tax settlements, and etc. So, last slide, last subheadings for our today's topic. Audit of salary settlements. Salary, as I mentioned, salary, it means wage. Salary, it's an amount of money that you get for your labor, for your works done. So the main purpose of the inspection or of the checking process is to determine the correctness of calculation of wages and deductions from the wages, the documentation and recording all types of settlements between the enterprise and the employees. So in this case, we say that this type of settlements is between enterprise and employee. Müəssisə və işçilər arasında, we can say that. So salary or wage isn't a kind of money that you must pay to any, how can I say, company, contractor, buyer, customer or suppliers. No, just process between you, it means your company, your enterprise, and between your employees. So let's check the important factors in this checking process. So the auditor must check the followings: correct calculation of salary. Of course, correct calculation, because how can I say, there must be difference between employees. For example, employee working in a high level or an employee working in a low level work, or for example easy work, hard work, many kinds of labor, you know. And you must calculate the salary in norms, how can I say, set by legislation, or in norms or in politics in accordance with your company's salary politics. So correct calculation of salary, of course, is important. Let's continue. Legality of the deductions from salary to pension fund, budget, and etc. We have already talked about this one. We mentioned that there are three types of deductions from salary in our country. For example, taxes, the main one, deductions from salary to your pension fund, of course. And the third one is a deduction from your salary for compulsory insurance. So legality of the deductions, of course, is important again. And proper documentation of compensation or incentive payments to employees. What does it mean? What is compensation and what's incentive payments to employees? Let's explain and let's see the differences between these two types of payments. For example, what does compensation mean? The enterprise must compensate, pay any amount of money. It means compensate its employee in the form of a lump sum payment. Lump sum payment, it means that you must pay it for a time, or how can I say, you mustn't repeat it from after a period, just one time. So in the event of dismissal or damage to the employee due to its accident or some other bad things, and etc. What does it mean, dismissal? Dismiss, it means that you are freeing your employee and you come to the end of your contract and you don't want, for example, to work with your employee anymore, and etc. This means compensation, kompensacja, you know, in Azeri. But what does incentive mean? Incentive, it's not a compulsory payment. The company or the, how can I say, the enterprise isn't forced to pay this amount of money to his own employees. But incentive payment, it means that if you want to motivate, if you want to increase the performance of your workers, employees, you can set up this kind of payment. For example, you can set up a new, how can I say, payment called the employee of month, the worker of month. This process, of course, will increase the performance or the motivation of your employees, workers, and maybe they will try hard, they will work hard because at the end of this month they want to get this amount of money. But again, I want to say that incentive payments are not, how can I say, compulsory payments. The enterprise isn't forced to pay this kind of payment, just if they want. So let's, at the end of our today's lesson, again we want to notice account number 533 is the main information source in this checking process or in this type of settlements. Name, payroll, debts to staff. But again, I want to say that I didn't mention all names of account numbers that I used today, but you can take the names from accounting chart. So let's watch. So it was the last slide of our today's lesson. Okay, it's the end of our lesson. I hope that I will see our students again and soon. Sağ olun.